Good evening, Razorback fans. Welcome to another episode of the Hog Talk podcast presented to you by FanDuel. Live from the Sterling Soap and Roastery Studios, part of the Believe and Buzz Radio Network, where you can hear us each week on 106.7 Buzz 2 in Central Arkansas. All live shows are presented to you by Arkansas Brewing Company in downtown Ozark. I'm Porter Hayes, alongside me as always is Adam Hall, and on tonight's episode, we will recap Arkansas's big win over Arkansas State and give a little preview of Ole Miss. Plus, we'll talk some other college football from around the country. Adam, yesterday, Arkansas did what they were supposed to. They come out on fire, 28 points first quarter, stagnant second half, but for the most part, other than a couple of plays from the kickoff return and then Jalen Rayner to Cameron Ambrose in the end zone, held them in check for the most part. What was your overall thoughts of the game?
I mean, like you said, they did what they were supposed to do. I know we spent a lot of the week talking about the what ifs, and in the grand scheme of things, I mean, it was still a possibility. It wasn't, out of the realm of potentially happening. We've seen some ugly things happen at War Memorial Stadium. But, they came in, they had a convincing win against teams that they should have, did what they did. I had a big issue with Taylon Green's interceptions, which I hope, a lot of folks did. A lot of folks are still wanting to talk Heisman, make Heisman comments, whatever. And I don't get that. In my opinion, a Heisman candidate doesn't throw 2 interceptions against Arkansas State. But it's one of those, I'm ready for. I don't want to see Taylon Green, and goes back to a conversation I had with some friends earlier today, and I agreed with it. I don't want to see, I think for this team to succeed and for Taylon to get to the next level in means of advancing to the NFL, I don't think that we need to rely on him for 4,000 passing yards.
Yeah.
I think that he needs to get 1,000 yards rushing this year. Mm-hmm. And that's by, the designed runs like we saw. What were his? Let me pull up this. 9 rushes for 151 yards. And, the first drive, I think what was it, a 60-something yard, 64-yard touchdown or something like that. Yeah. Those are the type of plays that we need to see from Taylon. I still think that he's making some inerrant throws, whether they're too high, they're not leading the receiver behind the receiver. I don't see a whole lot of improvement off of last season in that mix of his passing decisions, airing the ball up too much. So, I just hope that, hey, this is game 2. Things will progress throughout the season. But I think for this team to succeed from here moving forward, I think that he needs to run the ball more. Just like I said, designed runs. And we don't need him going out and trying to eclipse 4,000 passing yards this season.
Yeah. And he finished with 390 total. Like you said, 151 rushing, 231 through the air. And he did spread the ball out. Omega Blake, 5 receptions, 64 yards. Raylan Sharp, 2 for 43 yards. And CJ Brown had 3 for 36. Jaden Platt added 2 for 31. And then Jalen Brown had 3 for 30. Brown, Sharp, Blake, and Jones all had touchdowns, 4 total touchdowns through the air, and then another one rushing. So he has 11 total touchdowns so far through 2 games. Again, like you said, what they are supposed to do. This is the pros and cons. I'm kind of stuck on my breakdown of this, and maybe you can put your input in it, but they were going to what was working, that crossing pattern, that crossing route to get going. And to me, I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing, because is it because it's an inferior team, you played it safe and was just using what you knew instead of spreading the ball around, taking shots, trying to pass the ball downfield, you stuck with the crossing routes? Is that going to come back to haunt you or hurt you when you're playing against an SEC defense who is now going to pretty much they know what to look for when they're going to try to screens or the crossing patterns. Is that going to come to hurt them, or has it shown that they're willing to do what it takes? If this is working, this is how we're going to run. We're going to run our offense. So that's where I'm stuck on that part of it.
I think that it needs to be something. I mean, we know that SEC defenses, if they see that that's what your bread and butter is, that's what you're consistently going to, they're going to stop it, or they're going to attempt to stop it. I looked at it more yesterday, like trying to get Talon going, especially after the interceptions, trying to find things to get him back comfortable. Because once again, we saw, like last year, a turnover or a bad play or whatever, Talon gets in his head a little bit, his confidence drops. You've got to use those to boost your confidence. I feel like last year, there were design plays for Andrew Armstrong over the middle just to get Talon's confidence up. And I think that we're kind of seeing the same thing here. I just feel like we're seeing more of Bobby Petrino's over the middle crosses and, screens and things of that nature. We're seeing more of that this year. And I think that comes from outside of, Andrew Armstrong compared to last year. I think you have a better receiving core this year than you did last year.
Yeah, you have multiple, and you have true. And look, this is the thing, we have talked in nauseum about speed, and they have speed this year, that which is good, because when they need to get behind the defense, they will be able to at some point, not all the time. Through 2 games, they have outscored their opponents 108-21, outgained their opponents 1,182 yards to 520. So again, doing what you're supposed to. Back to those interceptions. Post game, Pittman, he was talking about not being perfect, but what he was talking about, they weren't tip balls. They weren't the balls that were 50-50 up in the air. So obviously got to get that corrected with his eyes. So that's what worries you. That one, he looked right at the defender. You got to know, especially, you're seeing guys in red. You're seeing guys in white. I mean, it's not like you don't know where these guys are. So that's what worries me, is you're going to be playing a faster defense next week. You're really going to be trying to throw some tight windows, and you got to be perfect. You cannot lead with your eyes. You got to deceive that defense. And so next week against Ole Miss is going to be a true test to see where they're going. Right here, understand offense was vanilla this week. I get that. You especially going into this first SEC game, you knew you could run the ball and use Talon, his legs, to dominate this game. So was proud on that end. We, from my standpoint, as it is, as much as we criticize, we have to give flowers, even though they were supposed to do it. I'm not going to sit here and be negative about it. Well, they were doing what they're supposed to. Because of what they did against Alabama A&M, they came out flat. We seen them come out and not give Arkansas State a chance in a proving game. This was a game that we were talking about with Kyle Sutherland and Kara Ritchie. This could be a swing game. So for them to come out and pretty much shut us up, be like, look, this is what we're going to do to teams like this. So for this week, I got to tip my cap to them, be like, hey, look, y'all kept them out of the game. I mean, there was no excuses like last week with penalties. Yes, Arkansas State had some penalties and whatnot, but you could tell that Arkansas from the get-go, and I never say defer to the second half, but I really think from a standpoint of Arkansas State, not saying it would have made a difference, but you gave Arkansas an opportunity to know they were coming out with a high-powered offense, and they scored in 2 plays. That right there, I mean, took some wind out of the sails, because now you come out 3 and out, boom, score again. Before you know it, it's 28-0 or 28-7.
The defense, I feel like, because you played a better opponent this week than you did last week. And so we can just chalk a lot of last week up. Maybe it's first game. I'm not going to say first game jitters, but it's first game of the year, first game that you're playing somebody that's not your teammates, whatever. I mean, whatever Xavier Story heard from last week, it worked. 15 tackles, 1 interception, 2 tackles for loss, half a sack. So this is who we wanted to see last week and who we expected to see last week. I'm still wondering where Cam Ball is. He ended up with 1 tackle. So I don't know what's going on with the defensive line, but let's see. Quincy Rhodes Jr., I mean, he had 6 tackles. Julian Neal, 11 tackles, interception, 2 pass deflections. Steven Dix, 10 tackles. So you had guys stepping up, which is what you needed to do because there's been a lot of uncertainty with the defense. But, we'll see. Like you said, next week is going to be a completely different game.
Yep.
You're going to Oxford. Even though Ole Miss played Kentucky yesterday, the fact is Ole Miss has already got an SEC game under their belt. So in that sense, they're going to be a little bit more prepared than Arkansas is going into this game. Now, jury's still out on Austin Simmons as quarterback, which we'll get into later with Ole Miss. But at the same time, I don't bat an eye at any SEC team because especially the SEC teams that we, are down on this season. I mean, look what Mississippi State did. Look what Vanderbilt did to Virginia Tech. And Virginia Tech, I know, is a dumpster fire in itself. But these schools are improving. I mean, even OU, they're ranked 18th, but then knocking off Michigan yesterday. It's one of those things that it's like other teams are stepping up. And I know it's early in this season, and this is what we need to see from Arkansas. You need to go into Oxford and I'm not saying win convincingly, but when, just go in there and steal one away.
Yeah. And it's weird. You look at the SEC as a whole and you've seen, LSU and Clemson both struggled this week with inferior teams. LSU won 23-7. And then you look at Georgia, Austin Peay 28-6, Texas bounced back 38-7 over San Jose State. South Carolina started off slow, 17-3 at halftime, and then mentioned Mississippi State 20. That was a great win for that program. You talking about starting off 2-0 for Mississippi State, giving them momentum. Florida laying an egg. You talk about, and we can go back. I really want to revisit this game in our second segment because, now we're talking about the praise, but yet I really, in the second segment, want to talk about, and we're talking about hot seats. We're seeing a team come in like Florida, his seat's getting hotter. So is it important if you're Sam Pittman, we want to keep this ball rolling. I want to win here. I want to prove that we can win here because if not, you're looking at a team like Florida that's already starting out 1-1 on the season. And I don't know if you've seen their schedule. It is brutal. Mm-hmm. Oklahoma, 24-13. Go ahead on Florida.
Oh, they were, I think, one of the, obviously few teams that were rated a tougher schedule than Arkansas. I think one thing that Billy Napier has on his side is the fact that them being ranked. And yes, I understand they got upset as a ranked team in the swamp. But at the same time, I felt like them being ranked gave Napier a little bit of padding a little bit of security from that hot seat. I'm not saying he's safe from it because this obviously isn't a good look. But if that was a unranked Florida team that lost to USF, I feel like he would have been out the door already.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And we'll look, again, keep an eye on these situations because it is with Arkansas. You never know how next week's going to go. It's moved from, okay, we're talking about swing games. Next week is a legit swing game. Will determine on how the season's going to go because me and you both have these as losses, I believe, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're winning a game that the majority has you as a loss. Now you're flipping a 5-win to now you're bowl eligible if we're going how we're going. Texas A&M looked impressive in their win over Utah State. We mentioned Ole Miss, Tennessee, Aguilar. They scored 24 points in each of their first 2 quarters against East Tennessee State. Take that for how you wish. Missouri, 2-0, 42-31 over Kansas. Auburn, 42-3 over Ball State. And then Vanderbilt beating Virginia Tech. So SEC is showing out that week 1 was kind of a fluke. I know there was a lot of people beating down on the SEC outside of Florida. So we'll see how it plays out moving forward. But to me, on the defensive side, as I mentioned, it was good to see Sorey step up. But yeah, there needs to be a lot more than they had 10 tackles for loss, 4 sacks for 34 yards. You really want to see more pressure out of that because, especially Austin Simmons had a bad game, shake off the rust. You want to kind of make sure that he doesn't get in a rhythm. You're on the road. It is a 6 o'clock kickoff. This is not going to be one of those 11 a.m. games. 6 o'clock, the Grove's going to be hopping all day long. So this is going to be a crazy environment. So we're talking about Taylon Green and how important it is with his vision and not being able to just be one-dimensional and looking right to the receiver. Let's see how he does with spreading the ball out and, of course, with his legs. But in a game like this, you don't want to determine on it because you start taking some hits like you did in Alabama A&M game. Let's see.
Well, and one thing too that I think that is, I'm not going to say it's going to go against Taylon by any means, but having a former offensive lineman of yours and tight end, if you want to get in that matter, on Ole Miss, who's to say that they're not informing tendencies of Taylon's, what makes him uncomfortable, what makes him this, what makes him that. You have 2 of the closest guys that were with Taylon now on the opposing team to help their defense. So, and I know Lucas is out. I don't know. I haven't looked up anything on Kudus to see if he's even done anything or how he's done this season. But it's one of those things that this game is either close, like we saw, a few years back in KJ's last game in Mississippi, or it's a blowout. And it's one of those things that we've felt like, and for a number of years that Lane Kiffin always has Arkansas's number. And you just hope that that's not the case. You hope that Ole Miss is kind of in this, growing pain period with the new quarterback, uncertainty that surrounds him. I still think that there's some bitterness from last season on not getting into the playoff, which, like we had talked about previously, that the blueprint was 10 games unless you win your conference. But this is one, there's a good relationship with Lane Kiffin and Sam Pittman, but at the same time, Lane Kiffin throws everything out the door when it comes to game time. So I don't expect anything less from Ole Miss to throw the kitchen sink in Arkansas to make them uncomfortable, especially Taylon Green. I think disguising your defenses. I haven't seen anything from Taylon Green that shows me that he can truly read disguises very well. He leads with his eyes way too much. So I just hope that there is something under Petrino and Taylon's sleeve for this coming week. And I hope that the defense doesn't show us the defense of Arkansas past, where we make an unknown quarterback or a struggling quarterback have a Heisman type game. And, but we'll see what we get, 6 p.m. Oxford, the fans are going to have all day to pregame and party. You hope there are less fights than there were in Little Rock. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, that was nuts. But that's for another show. But no, to this right here, I don't have any details. I was looking at it. He went out in the third quarter, and Lane Kiffin. Let me see if I don't know if it's a direct quote. The Clarion Ledger says Lane Kiffin said Austin Simmons could have returned. So I don't know what his status will be. I know going into this is probably going to be a little hush hush. So if we hear more, we'll put it out there, but nothing yet on his, it says a lower leg injury. So I don't know, it could be just a rolled ankle and whatnot. But you want to see the fact that also with Taylon Green, somebody they know he's good with his legs. Don't sit there and get to the point to where now you're like, okay, I know I don't have a throw. I am going to depend on my legs to get me out of trouble. And then you start turning the ball over, or you start getting pressure and you start throwing it away, or a 3rd and 2 turns into, or a 2nd and 2 turns into a 3rd and 8 because you're trying to outrun the defense and you get sacked behind the sticks. So those are going to be some things. How are you going to handle the pressure? How are you going to handle the crowd noise? How are you going to handle a coaching staff that is very familiar with you, Sam Pittman and Bobby Petrino. So you're dealing with people that's been in the game a while. They know your tendencies. They know what to look for. They know how you run your offense, and they know you have some firepower. So I think it's going to make for a very exciting game. The over-under, I believe, is 62.5. Arkansas is currently an 8.5-point underdog, according to FanDuel. So they're predicting a close, high-scoring game next week in Oxford.
Just for real quick, Isaac Teslaw just had his first NFL touchdown about 20
Breaking
minutes
news.
So,
Had to get barely out. Look at this. Let's see. One in for sure. Two. His feet were in, but
third round
his
pick.
tutties just hit outside.
How about this? Are they high on this kid? Look at this.
I mean, his catch, that shows off his skill level. Had to get
so
courtesy of CBS Sports, courtesy. You can see that on CBS Sports. Give them a good shout out before they flag it. But no, I mean, you just imagine, though, it makes you think, if you're finding the right guys and you see what you have, you've seen guys blow up in the NFL. But that's hard work. That dude's worked his tail off to get where he's at.
Mm-hmm.
And you see what he's doing with it. Oh,
it's great.
Amazing props to Tesla there.
Let's get that video up so we can get some views out of it.
Yeah, there we go.
but no, he's truly showing too that going through what he went through last season on not getting the ball thrown to him. It was one of those things. It's like when you needed him, he was always there, but at the same time, they just never called his number. And I think I don't know if there was some disconnect between Talon and him. I don't know if it was so much that Talon only trusted Andrew Armstrong, but at the same time, it's like Tesla is doing this in the NFL, and people were questioning if he was going to be able to do this against SEC teams. And it's just kind of like, obviously, proof's in the pudding. He's getting it done, and is what it is. Hindsight is 50-50. At the same time, you just wish that he had this opportunity when he was here at Arkansas.
Exactly. But before we hit to a break, we're going to give you a Razorback raffle update. The estimated prize for the winning ticket 990-236-69015, $35,460 to the winner. So half of what it was, I believe. The first one was 90. So I don't know. I don't know what to think about it, but it's one of those things that hey, still 35,000. It's nothing.
Oh, I mean, you can't balk at it.
It's just, again, when you promote this thing, not much at all. And we even had it on our Thursday episode where the conspiracy theories. So yet to see the last week's winner. We'll see who won this week. And I had sent you the schedule. I don't know when they're going to do it again. I know they said on away games, it's online only. Home games, you'll be able to do online and then while you're at the stadium. So,
we're not. I think that after us talking about it, Ruskin and Zach talking about our comments, I think it's one of those things that writing's on the wall. I don't know that we're going to see who wins it from here on out. So, unless Rodney from Pine Bluff finally wins, I don't think we're going to see it.
Yeah. Shout out to Rodney from Pine Bluff. Yes. But with that, we're going to take a break. Do not forget, all episodes presented to you by FanDuel. Go hit FanDuel.com. Again, Arkansas currently 8.5-point under. That's pretty good for a road game. So they think this is going to be a toss-up because they always say 7-point road dog. For that, over under 62.5. So head over there to FanDuel, get on your bets right now, and we'll catch you right after the break. Searching for premium brewery products that will take your daily routine to the next level? Look no further than Sterling Soap Company. Our handmade soaps, aftershaves, and balms are made with only the finest ingredients that give you the ultimate grooming experience. With a variety of scents to choose from, there's something for everyone. Plus, our products are crafted in small batches to ensure the highest level of quality. So why wait? Visit
www.sterlingsoap.com or visit our retail store at 16 West Walnut Street in Paris, Arkansas. Shop our collection and discover the difference for yourself. Upgrade your grooming routine with Sterling Soap Company. Are you looking for a place to grab a cold drink and some delicious food? Look no further than Arkansas Brewing Company. Located at 201 South 1st Street in beautiful downtown Ozark, our establishment offers a wide selection of craft beers and tasty eats. But what sets us apart is our welcoming atmosphere and friendly staff. At Arkansas Brewing Company, you'll always feel like part of the family. So visit Destiny and Christopher Brockett and staff today and see for yourself what makes us the go-to spot for locals and visitors alike. Arkansas Brewing Company, come for the drinks and stay for the friends. Attention DIYers and home improvement enthusiasts. Are you searching for the right tools and supplies to tackle your next project? Look no further than Mentor's Hardware Store. With locations in Ozark, Alma, and Clarksville, our vast selection of hardware and building materials is sure to have everything you need. Whether you're fixing a leaky faucet or building a new deck, plus our knowledgeable staff is always on hand to offer expert advice and guidance. And with our competitive prices and convenient online ordering, Mentor's Hardware Store is your one-stop shop for all your DIY needs. Visit us today and let's build something amazing together.
Are you looking to take your career to the next level? Look no further than ATU Ozark Campus. As a 2-year satellite campus of Arkansas Tech University, we're dedicated to a quality workforce education, industry partnerships for in-demand jobs, and tailored paths for success. Our programs are led by industry professionals. Whether it's a certificate or you're aiming for a graduate degree, ATU Ozark has you covered. Visit our website at www.atu.edu/Ozark or contact us at 479-667-2117. Your future begins here. Welcome to Ozark Area Chamber of Commerce, where our mission is simple: encourage, promote, and aid an enduring environment of shared economic opportunity and civic development for the Ozark, Arkansas area. Whether you're a local business owner or a resident, we've got something for you. Shop our unique local businesses, explore the beauty of Ozark, and savor local flavors and find cozy accommodations. Join us in building a stronger community. And to learn more, contact us at 479-667-2525. Remember, together we thrive. And welcome back to the Hog Talk podcast. Adam, did you watch any other games outside the Razorback game? Did you see week 3 as being as pretty exciting? Did you watch the Michigan-Oklahoma game or the Mississippi State game?
I watched like the tail end of some of the games just to see the final scores, but let's see. I think honestly, after I turned off the Arkansas game, I finished one of the Equalizer movies. It was just one of those that, but then after that was done, I tuned back just to kind of run through some of the scores that had gone final and whatnot. So I Arizona State and Mississippi State, I think that we're seeing what Arizona without Scatabo really looks like.
Yeah. I love having YouTube TV because you could sit there and watch 4 games at a time. That's pretty much was on my screen until I went to bed.
How do people do that? How do you do that? Like, I already have a short attention span sometimes, but you put 4 games up on this. I mean, I know you can pick the sound over which one. I don't know. That's just, I may start the day that way when I start watching football, but then I have to select a game.
Yeah. It's one of them that, of course I paid attention to the Arkansas game, but watching the OU Michigan, I really tuned in, the game I really wanted to pay attention to, like the OU Michigan game. I put the sound on like that, but my father-in-law is a big Michigan State fan. So watching that game going to double overtime with Boston College, that was a really good game there. Then of course you're watching the Mississippi State game, Arizona State. I didn't see the last play and for that to end the way it was, but OU. Yeah. It was weird seeing Satani out there. Yeah. He muffed a punt, but he had a huge play there towards the end. So, I mean, we can give him a little crap for that, but for the most part, still has it. It's still kind of, but it's not one of them what ifs, because if he didn't want to be here, if he's wanting to go to the transfer portal and chase I don't think he would have had like the outing. He's at OU now. It's like we got Brown and Sharp, so I think we're doing good without him. So it's not one of them. Hey, we missed it, but it is funny. You get to kind of pick on him a little bit.
Well, and I think that's even Rocket Sanders had his first touchdown today, and it's one of those things. It's like cool, but you left Arkansas, so I'm not going to post it. I'm not going to post about it, but I'm also not going to crap on it because more power to him. He was one that when he left, I don't know, it's like it hurt a little bit, but I almost understood it. Well, take that back. I would have understood if he ended up in Florida. But it's one of those, it is what it is. Unfortunately, it's a business now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you watched the video I posted earlier of Greg Olson.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that it sounds amazing. You can have NIL or have the transfer portal, but it's never going to happen. And it's one of those things that I do agree, though. It's like if you take money, from a school, you should be locked in and it not be like, hey, I got $2 million from this school, and then next season I'm going to go get another $1.5 million from this school and just hop around for 3 years. But we live in this age now with college athletics that the first person to sue, okay, there's an injunction, so we're just going to grant everybody a waiver until we sort this out, and then we never sort this out.
I think if you tweak it and you make it fit college football, you can have both. If you make one portal window and you can limit the transfers, how many times you can transfer, or if there's exceptions, then yes, you can't. But I can't sit here and say that, well, you can't have both, because you can. Now, look, these are the players that are making these choices. If it don't work out for them, that's on them. They are making that decision to chase money. The proof is in the pudding. If you go to a place and you're chasing money, it's going to show on the field. Look at all these people that are moving schools and they're doing it for the money and they're not having good success where they go. Now let's go to the ones that are transferring up to get more playing time, to play for a better school, get in a better situation. You're seeing it work out more times than not. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you can have both. And again, it's easy to say, well, you can't have in this current climate, both at the same time is horrible, because you can transfer as many times as you want and you can make as much as you want. Mm-hmm. Now, if you limit that, you cut it to one and you cap this thing to where people can get, again, you're talking about name, image, and likeness. What are these players doing for this money? Are they doing ads? Are they doing anything for the university? Is their name, image, and likeness really worth what they're putting on the field? So I know you can't really gauge that, but it's until you put I wouldn't even say a stop to it. You're going to have to make it manageable. Then people are going to continue to do it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, just get back into the McDonald's bags full of cash, mm-hmm. essentially. And more, we're going to get some more answers coming up in October when it comes to the transfer portal, if they're going to go ahead and move forward. I mean, because the rules committee approved it, but it still has to be officially approved and implemented. But, to putting the one transfer window for 10 days in the month of January, rather than having the post-spring, summer, all this. Totally for. I'm even still for, I almost feel like 10 days is short. Now, let's remind everybody, though, that the 10 days, that's just 10 days that you have to enter. You don't have to pick a school by then.
Yeah.
But, I'm still in the, I was cool with 30 days if you were just going to have one window. And then I was like, okay, you want to cut it to 15, just cut it in half. 10 days, okay. But the thing is still, to me, it's still the amount of times that players are allowed to transfer. I think that there just needs to be more rhyme and reason for transferring, not just because I feel like a lot of times with some of these players, once you've ended up at school 3 and school 4 and the outcome is still the same, you are the problem at this point. I've stopped blaming coaches and systems and whatever else at that point. If you've gone to, you're now on your third school and you're still riding the pine, something's wrong with you. And, prime example of that years ago. And I just saw a video on him earlier. Is the only reason it's in mind, but Tate Martell. And he's one of those that it never worked. Like, you were the problem, dude. You went from this top 5 national, high school top 5 quarterback to you bounced around because you couldn't start. And I just look at some of these guys and you tuck and run versus putting in a little bit more effort.
It's called development. And that's the thing. Yeah, they are part of the problem, but they're going to play the victim when they try to get drafted or they try to get on an NFL team. They're held to a contract. They're held to this team. They're held to being third on the depth chart, or they're going through training camp. You're fighting for a spot. And then they wonder why they can't overcome that adversity because they've never been taught it. Yes, people are allowing it, but it's more so of, okay, go ahead. Do what you want to do. It is your choice, but don't come crying when you're out of your 4th school and you don't get drafted. You got to realize when you go to these interviews, people, I've not sat in an interview, but I've heard things about the interview process. They find everything out about you. And if this team is willing to trust in you, in their franchise, and give you millions of dollars, if they are looking at you going to 3, and I've had this happen with job interviews of you look at somebody's resume and they're like, well, man, you've had 3 jobs in the last 3 years. What's going on there? Can we trust you to stay in this position if, it takes this much to onboard you? It takes this much money to train a person to get them to where they're up to speed. You don't think NFL franchises are looking at when they're investing millions of dollars in you and they pass up on you. So that's on them. That's for them to figure out. And when they're a practice player or they're out of the NFL or NBA, whatever you might say, in the first 3 years or never make it to a roster, don't come wanting to know why the answers are. You are not investing in yourself when you transfer to 3 or 4 teams. If it doesn't work out or a coach gets fired and you go to 2, or the extreme circumstance, if it happens to you again and you're at your 3rd school, but you look at the circumstance, but then you go out at that 3rd school and you ball out, you shine, you put in the work and you make yourself an NFL prospect, and then you get to the league and you prove people wrong. I can see that. But I would love to really, a lot of people do research. What are the numbers on these people who've been to 3 or more schools really making it for themselves in the NFL?
I would say slim to none, because I think as you've seen over the years, it usually takes a while for us to get like any true number, but we started seeing with the amount of people that enter the transfer portal, less and less finding a home.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of those things, like the comment was in here earlier, grass isn't always greener, talking about the Arkansas wide receivers. And, it's one of those, like when it comes to Desmond James, he's one that, did he get a shot last season? We never saw him on the field until the Liberty Bowl, or if it was minimal. Were there contributing factors to that? Was it him? Was it his work ethic? Was it this? Was it that? Whatever the case may be. Yeah. Do we know that he probably would have been a focal point in this offense if he had stayed? More than likely, yes. Depending on if somebody was brought in that's better than you. But at the same time, you go to Cal, you have no stats yet. Yeah, you got jacked. More power to you. But at the same time, that's not going to get you anywhere. You can't get to the NFL with no stats. And, maybe he went to Cal. I was thinking UCLA for a minute, because I'm going to say there was your problem too, is Nico. But, grass isn't always, these guys have to learn somehow, though. Because if you're not going to, and sadly, some of them never learn until it's too late. You just hope for some of these guys, it's like, hey, I've at least got a degree that came out of this, but the majority of the time, that's not the case.
Well, and another thing, you bring up Desmond James. You look at yesterday's game and you're talking about, whose spot would you have taken? Well, would have they brought in a guy to replace you? And would you have been one of the guys that he threw to? Let's just bring up Omega Blake, Raylan Sharp, CJ Brown. We know CJ Brown's from Arkansas, but we're talking about in the grand scheme of where you would be in this year's lineup. What if you got 3 receptions for 36 yards? You might not touchdown, but you're getting production. Or what if you're like a Raylan Sharp or Omega Blake and you're the top target on the team? Now you're the man. So it's one of those things that you got to trust in yourself. And if you think you're good enough and you want to work your way up, stay where you're at. But I want to go to Satania right quick. I don't think he was all in on coming to Fayetteville in the first place.
No, he went to
he was one that was wanting to go to Texas A&M, correct? Was he the one that
he was committed to Oregon? He has committed to Texas A&M at one point in time, I think, but then ended up being Fayetteville. So that's another one of these guys that, committed to I think that's a something that tracks as well, are these guys that in high school are committed to 3, 4, 5 different schools. There's no loyalty to anywhere. But that's what we're seeing in college too. And that's why a lot of us as fans have to get it out of our head on this whole loyalty thing, because that's gone out the window because of money. That's gone out the window because of whatever can get somebody to the NFL. Like, there's no more loyalty. There's not even loyalty when it comes to the coaching.
Yeah.
So the only people that are loyal are fans. And I think that we have to come to grips with that. I mean, it's just like the NFL. It's one of those things. That's one reason I don't buy NFL jerseys, just because I don't want to buy a jersey. And then next thing I know, that guy's getting traded. I don't want to wear that. I'll never wear it again. If you're going to buy a jersey, buy it of somebody that's already retired and in the Hall of Fame, whatever. But there's no loyalty in college sports.
Yeah. And it is that way. But, it's weird how the Satania situation, I mean, we've played NCAA football. We went through the high school and got to that point where we get to check 3 hats, and we don't know who do we want to go play for? What if this kid, I mean, I'm just using every rule has an exception. And I think just a slim chance of him, he could in that exception of, you got to realize he is a track star. So does he really want to go somewhere like Texas A&M or Arkansas with the track program? He got to Arkansas and then he's like, okay, now I'm testing the waters. I just think it was a bad situation for him because he probably truly didn't realize where he wanted to go, because he did have so many schools after him. There might have been pressure to go to Arkansas. Then you've seen how everything played out. And he's like, well, I'm just going to go play for someone like OU. You never know. But now I want to preference this, and we bookmark this. Now, after this year, he again hits the transfer portal. Then we know, okay, he's just going to bounce around. If he stays with OU for the rest of his career, we're like, okay, well, look, things just didn't work out. He was a kid. We're all talking about kids here. You sometimes don't know where you truly want to go. But it's these 5th, 6th-year guys that are bouncing around from school to school just to get the money grab. That's what we're seeing a lot of.
Well, and like we've talked about before, a lot of the starts at high school or before with these guys. It's the people that don't tell these guys no, that are their yes men. It's crazy to think, back in the day, we all thought that like the pro athletes' kids would be the most entitled, would be the biggest prima donnas. And for a few years, we saw that. I mean, we saw, Jordan's son that ended up trying to play college ball and then whatever else and all that happened. We've seen these guys that came in and tried and it didn't work out, whatever. But then you're seeing this new wave of athletes that are kids of retired or current, whatever, professional athletes. And they've got more work ethic. And I feel like too, a lot of them understand that when they pick a school, especially in basketball, like a lot of these guys, they're thinking one and done because I've got to go to college for a year, and that's totally understandable. But in the football world, even like you're seeing these guys with more work ethic, with less diva in them than these high school kids that have never been told no, and it's just crazy. we always thought it was going to be the opposite. It's going to be the kid who came from nothing working it. And those kids are still out there. Don't get me wrong. But, especially on the basketball scene, some of the best college or basketball prospects for college right now are the kids of former NBA players. Some of them NFL players. I mean, hell, Marcus Spears' son's, I think, number one, and one of the classes, 27, I think. But it's a different world than we live in. At the same time, I don't think anything's going to change because we're seeing the professional model that is now college athletics, and it's created a monster that none of us thought we'd ever see.
Yeah. And we'll end it on this. Talking about loyalty. We're talking about people need to be loyal to a certain school. When you look at a school like Arkansas, who really, we're talking about money, they're not wanting to put the money into it. They want to put video boards up in another video board up in Baum Walker. They are wanting to shrink the sides of Bud Walton Arena to add more suites. They're wanting to put Walmart and Tyson on your football field instead of putting it in NIL. So we want loyalty, but where's the incentive for a kid to come to Arkansas when you're bragging about 15 million when people are spending 40?
$1 million question.
I mean, I'd look at that because but that's what it's going to take. I mean, you got to pay the fiddler to dance. Mm-hmm. It's an old dude in Oilfield taught me that. Got to pay the fiddler to dance. You're going to have to spend the money if you want kids to be loyal, or they're going to go to somewhere else instead of being pissing and moaning about it. Spend the money, build your program. But we're seeing it fail over and over again with, you're promoting the raffle that none of it goes to NIL. What are you doing in your efforts for NIL? You want the fans to spend money on a raffle that does not go to NIL and give to the Edge and give to NIL.
And pay for season tickets.
And season tickets and pay more.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be a big fumble. That is going to be one of the biggest fumbles that Hunter Yurachek did when he could have done it right. Instead, he was petty. He could have let somebody else do it. That, again, they're paying somebody to do this, mind you, instead of getting it done for free and half of it going to NIL.
I mean, this is one of those things that the only thing I can come up with is he's just waiting for another John Tyson to come up and do it for football. Mm-hmm. And we've all heard the talk behind the scenes. And at this point, it's one of those things that I don't care if this pisses off the university. But, we've all been hearing that there's people waiting to give to the football program, to donate to the NIL. But what's it going to take? That head coach to be out of there. And it's one of those things that if that's the case, what are we sitting there? And I know some people will wonder why we harp so much on Sam Pittman and why we're so hard on him. When you're hearing over and over and over that you have these boosters and other people behind the scenes just ready and waiting for him to leave, to be out of here, why are we not pulling the trigger? That's either that's not the case, or they just have no faith in this football program ever. Doesn't matter who we get. So I don't know what the answer is anymore, but I will say this, that no matter what happens this season, whether Arkansas goes 7-5, whether Arkansas goes 4-8, no matter what happens, if there's not a change before next season, going into a 9-conference game SEC season, you will never get out of where you are right now.
Yeah. And this right here, naming rights for Razorback Stadium. Oh yeah, there's reports.
I thought somebody 2 years ago said that it was a done deal.
It's a done deal. I mean, sources, said that it was a done deal. But I bring that up for the fact of not to troll, but you want money. You want people to pay for your NIL, because guess what? You're looking for somebody to go on the name of your stadium. So that's his next thing. Yeah, he wants to put a video board up, but the fact is you want to get somebody to be the name of the stadium. Why wouldn't Walmart step up and do that? Why didn't you get Walmart or Tyson to do that instead of you put it on the stadium? Because guess what? Now you're not looking for that big donor. That could have been your big donor instead of putting them on, painting it on the field or the inside. You could have had Walmart rollback stadium. I don't know, but we're looking ahead. And when you're still scrambling, you want the fans to pay you. Your next target now is you're going to find a big donor. So players, you're not going to get the NIL because it's going to go on the stadium.
100-year check Razorback Stadium. I'm gonna have AI, draw up the logo.
There you go.
Send it to them.
Well, don't put it on a shirt. They'll take it away from us.
100% putting on a shirt.
Oh my goodness. Anyways, Adam, you got anything else before we wrap it up?
Nope. Baltimore, Buffalo, 20 minutes.
20 minutes, and then so how are you going to do that? You still got 805?
We're going to do Hog HQ Live, and I will have my phone parked right over here.
There you go. Hide that number so you don't get doxxed or nothing.
There we go.
All right. Well, that will do it for another episode. We want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. Thank you all our sponsors, and thank you for tuning in tonight. Don't forget, come back 8:05 for Hog HQ Live. For Adam All, I'm Porter Hayes, presented to you by FanDuel, and we will catch you on Thursday.